Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Flynn, and I'm here with
Scott Lang.
And we are the Band Dads. Here to bring you a podcast about something that we care very dearly about, which is music education and band.
Some of you are here because you want to learn about all things band. Some of you are here because you want to see a train wreck, and the answer is yes to both of those. We don't care why you're here. We're going to answer all the questions. We're going to say the things you're thinking. We're going to debunk all the myths.
Yep. This is the Band Dads Podcast.
The podcast by and for confused band parents.
Oh, is that the tagline? All right, hey everyone. Welcome to the very first premiere, shiny, brand new episode of the Band Dads Podcast.
This is like our inauguration.
It is.
We should have a band or something.
Do you think we'd get a good turnout for our inauguration? Do you think people would attend?
No, I don't think
Charge admission, maybe?
I don't think there's anybody watching this podcast now. What would make you think they're going to travel 2 different states to come see us? Let's be clear. Some of you are here because you want to learn about all things band. Some of you are here because you want to see a train wreck. And the answer is yes to both of those. We don't care why you're here. Just that you're here.
We'll be okay with it either way if you're here visiting with us. But this is the Band Dads Podcast. We're here to have a conversation about something that we both care very deeply about, which is music education and band.
So we want to be clear to the fairer of the genders out there. Just because we're 2 band dads and our podcast is called the Band Dads Podcast doesn't mean this is for band dads. This is for all parents. I mean, it's not like we're going to talk about like how to build props or how to load the box truck.
I don't do those things, so I don't plan to talk about
how to do those things either. This is a place where we're going to answer all the questions. We're going to say the things you're thinking. We're going to debunk all the myths, and we're going to talk about some taboo subject, which is like money and how do you deal with difficult directors who are high strung. Not that I was ever one of those people.
It's not what I hear.
Which brings about how we should introduce ourselves. This is Chris Flynn. And Chris Flynn, in addition to being a social media expert and being an incredible band dad, he is also a banker.
Well, see, that's a yes. I work in a corporate bank. Yes.
Do you know what a pivot table is? Just tell me.
I'm actually pretty good at pivot tables, yeah.
I'm pretty good at saying the word pivot table.
That's it, though?
And I name drop it a lot. Like it's like Shakespeare. I don't really remember anything about Shakespeare, but if I say Shakespeare reminds us, it makes me sound smarter, which I'm not.
So I would impress more people if I walked around talking about my ability to create pivot tables? Have I been missing an opportunity?
It would make you less likely to have your wife want to spend time with you, but...
I don't know if I could do any worse than that already, but...
Yes, we're doing a Band Dad podcast. The women already are just flocking to us.
No, if my wife is watching, that's not happening. So we're clear. I am a data analyst by trade, by profession. So yeah, I work with data. I do pivot tables.
You may have the only job that makes band directors sound sexy. You're a data analyst.
I'm a data analyst. Yeah. You know what it is too. You know how I got into data analyst was I was a leader for a long time. You know, I got tired of dealing with people. So the best way to do that, be an analyst, because then you just deal with numbers and you just deal with the problems that the numbers create, which generally you can overcome with the right piece of code or the right pivot table for that matter. So I'm a data analyst by trade, but certainly a very prideful band dad who also is very involved in our high school band because I run their media. I'm the media coordinator. And that's how Scott and I met, because Scott also has a child that goes to the same school. And we were in a booster meeting having discussion about marching band things. Like most band parents, we were very prideful of the performance that our kids put out on the field. And we were talking about the previous weekend's performance with some cynicism, ultimately, because we thought that maybe the results that our kids were getting were not what they deserved, ultimately. We thought that maybe they deserved better compared to some of the other bands that we
Can we just say, they felt like they were the Kansas City Chiefs, the other team. They were getting all the right calls, all the benefits.
Yeah.
And after one of the parents had said, well, I don't know what the judges saw, but I thought we were the best band there. I blew my cover. I didn't blow my lid. I blew my cover because they didn't know who I was and that I was a band director for 20 years and I still work in music education. And I said, oh, really? I had us for 4th in visual and 3rd in music.
Which was a bold move considering the tone of the room, by the way. I'm just going to put that out there.
Bold or stupid?
Those are synonymous sometimes. So
I proceeded to explain that I felt like we had some staging issues and that the size of our band, given the division and our percussion-heavy wind block, was impeding us, and that the different types of captions there were visual, performance, general effect, and their eyes glazed over.
Yeah.
And then Chris came to me and said,
this would be nice to put in layman's terms and in some sort of document or something that people can refer back to. So not only for this conversation, because other band parents, if you've been to a booster meeting, you know that only represents a very small population of your actual band and the band parents, right? This deserves a broader audience, right? So it was powerful for us in that moment. There's no question, but it's also a message that needed to be spread broader than, again, that group of people in that room that night. So I asked Scott if he would be willing to put together some sort of document or something that we could share, on a larger level, so we could empower the band parents like myself to understand.
Just to be clear, the only people that are listening to us is my mother and my golden retriever, who you may meet one of those two. I won't tell you one. I want to break that now. But to say, Scott, do you want to talk about band as like going to a golden retriever treat? Like my ears perked up and I got a big smile. Well, yeah, I want to talk about band.
So much so that he found a way to use AI to create a podcast to read back to us part of this document that he created. That's how
I
interested he was in doing
upgraded
this.
so much from AI to have Chris Flynn.
I'm telling you.
So I put together about a 7-page document that explained band classifications and judging rubrics and assessments and modeling. And really what the profound moment for me was when a band parent reached out to me and said, I've been a band booster and I've had a kid in band for 8 years and I didn't know any of this. And I thought,
it's impactful.
It really was profound for me, because
impactful.
I take for granted that I see what you see and you see what I see and vice versa. But that's not the case. So that really did stick with me. I thought, well, okay, I did a good deal. I wrote it out and I explained it to everyone. And the goal is not to be erudite or to prove that I know. The goal is to give you information and abilities to better enjoy your child's performance. That's what it's about.
Absolutely. And it's, again, we do enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. But again, you don't necessarily want to have a chip on your shoulder to the point where you're judging other children.
But wouldn't you?
Because you feel like yours are better, right? That's not a good place to be.
If you're standing in front of a piece of art and someone explains the art to you, don't you appreciate the art better?
I definitely have a different perspective that I didn't have before.
If you're sitting down to a fine meal and the chef explains why he mixed these sauces together, are you more likely to taste those sauces in that food?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, so if you better explain what this thing called band is, people are going to have a better sense of perspective and understanding.
Which a couple of examples, and maybe this is something that you've all experienced as well, but for myself, there was a couple of things that consistently usually used to bother me when I would go to these competitions, which would be, first and foremost, I really felt like the music that we played compared to some of the bands that finished above us was more complex. Like it just sounded more difficult. It sounded like maybe the bands that were finishing ahead of us were playing just simpler music. And I'm like, why would you be rewarded for that? And I guess it's the other way around. What we found out was just the complexity of the music itself is really not a huge factor. It's not about demand, which is what you're asking them to do. It's about execution, which is what they do. Right.
And we're going to get into that in, I believe, episode 2, which I'm really excited about. But our goal in doing this is to give you the information, the tools, so that you can better appreciate and understand what it is your child is doing. So we're going to answer every question. We're going to debunk every myth. We're going to touch every taboo. And what we're going to do is we've created an 8-episode mini podcast series. Yes. And if there's demand, we'll continue past 8.
Absolutely.
And if you're done with us after episode 1, we're still going to keep going to 8. So
we're on the slate for 8 regardless. Scott's pretty convinced that he's one of the Kelsey brothers. So I have to sit with him for.
I already quit my job. I just assumed we were going to get signed by Spotify. Should I not have done that, Mr. Moneyman?
I mean, I can do pivot tables a lot of places. I hope that your skills are transferable to a new employer for sure.
So if you want to be a part of our podcast, if you have a question you want answered, if you want a myth you want to debunked, how would they find us, Chris?
Yeah, first and foremost, our home is our website, which is banddadspodcast.com. So certainly check us out there. There's a bunch of different resources, certainly a way to provide feedback as well as find all of the episodes. If you're looking for additional episodes and links to where to listen to those things. If you prefer email, which a lot of us do, send us an email, which is feedback@banddadspodcast.com. Because again, we want to hear from you. We want to share your story as well. If you want to join us with an audio or video clip that you think would be useful for us, send it along. And we'll take a look at all that stuff. And again, this is a broader conversation than just Scott and I.
And if you want to involve others in the conversation, share this with your fellow band parents and let them know. We've committed to dropping 8 episodes. We're going to drop the premiere, which is now, and episode number 1, which is Why Band, which everyone knows is for football. We're going to debunk that myth in episode 1. But until then, we hope you have a great day. He's Chris, I'm Scott, and we're the
Band Dads. Thanks for all listening. We appreciate you guys. To stay up to date with the Band Dads podcast, please visit banddadspodcast.com. To reach the show, send an email to feedback@banddadspodcast.com. The Band Dads podcast is a 5 Deuce Media production. For more information, visit 5deucemedia.com. That's numeral 5deucemedia.com. For more information on Scott Lang leadership and solutions for music education, visit scottlang.net.